The next speaker, I'm super excited about. Here's how I get the call. It's Jordan. He's like, Dad. Hey, where's Dad? Talking to Mom. He says, hey, I just heard this guy speak. You got to get him to the show. I said, who the hell is he? He's like, oh, you're going to love this guy. Big guy. Used to play ball. Played for the Rams. Was in the NFL. It's like, you're going to love this guy. He's like, we just got to get him up here. So Jordan kind of hustles it all up. Tells me a little story. He's like, no, I think the crowd, I think your friends and everybody are really going to love hearing his story. So I'd probably blow it off. I go much deeper into it. Like I said, he was the highest paid center in the NFL. Walked away from it all. From what I hear, I've never heard his speech, never heard the story. I hear it's a phenomenal story, and I'm just as excited to hear it as everyone else. So, James, I think, come on up, bring it up, and you can have at it, and I'll get out of your way, my man. Everybody give him a good round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin, for that warm introduction. Good morning, everyone. Come on now, guys. Like, look. This is like the time before the Super Bowl, and as awesome of a crowd as it is in here, and for what we do. Okay, so everybody else knows how to hype it up, and so I'm always thinking about like how to hype up a crowd, right? And so amongst a bunch of farmers and people in the ag, I was thinking, who feeds the world? Farmers. Who feeds the world? Farmers. And I need my theme music. Farmers. Who feeds the world? Right? And it's just awesome to be amongst family. All right? It really is. And I'm so thankful for the Van Trump family. So thankful for Jordan being a talent scout. All right? And telling his pops to bring me on out here. Not sure how much you all know about my story. Many have coined it the curious case of Jason Brown, because why on God's green earth would a man give up fortune and fame, walk away from a lucrative NFL football career to a much more humbling lifestyle, and to play around in the dirt every single day, to be a farmer? And let me tell you what, I didn't always start out like this. Every superhero has an origin story, right? And so, of course, I got to share with you guys just a little bit of my origin story. All right. I have to turn that down. We'll get a little bit of reverb in the mic. If we can turn the mic down just a tad bit. There we go. Appreciate it. So, guys, things aren't always what they seem. Before, in my NFL football career, I was a big, mean, nasty guy, and now people are like, yeah, but now he's this kind, loving guy with a big heart. Like something doesn't add up, right? Kind of like some of the stuff that you see in the movies, and how they cast awesome people in movies that don't exactly look like what they seem. For instance, if there's ever a scientist or a doctor in a movie or a TV show, they have this like beautiful supermodel, looking person, to play that role, right? And you're like, look, a scientist or a doctor, they don't all look like that. And then all of a sudden, you look up here and Miss Melissa, okay, I'm like, is that a model coming up here on stage? But guess what? A scientist, crop scientist, and a soil scientist. And I'm like, guess what? Share something in common. But I got to tell you the truth, the humble origins, they weren't there. Actually, I started out with a big head. I was such a spoiled brat, a snobbish kid, especially when I found out that I was going to earn a scholarship playing football for UNC Chapel Hill. Come from a family, 2 older siblings, my older sister by 4 years, older brother by 7 years. Best older siblings in the whole wide world. And my big brother, who always dominated over me, when it came time for me to step up into my role and step up into my manhood, he kept trying to tone me back down. And when it came time for me to, really start to enjoy some of the success of my young, aspiring football career, he said, hey, Jason, like, hey, everybody's happy for you, but you know what? You need to humble yourself, just a little bit. And I'm like, no, big brother, like I'm really enjoying all of this success. I'm enjoying all of the compliments that people are telling about me. And he said, look, Jason, you really need to humble yourself. And if you don't do it, then I will. And I'm 16 going on 17 years old. And I look at my older brother, and we got this twinkling look in our eyes. Now, we didn't fight, all right? But he told me, he said, I'm always going to be bigger than you. I'm always going to be faster than you. And I'm always going to be stronger than you. I don't care what scholarship you earn. I'm your big brother, and I know what's best. You need to humble yourself. And I said, well, all right, big brother, we're going to have to put this to the test. Now, coincidentally, this happened right after my grandmother's funeral, okay? And it's because everyone was giving me compliments and saying, oh, Jason, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm just pounding and beating on my chest. And he got tired, all right, of me just inflating my ego. We had on our Sunday's best, so we couldn't scrap. We couldn't fight. But the least thing that we could do was, well, if he said he's faster than me, well, we can at least have a foot race. And so I said, all right, first man to get to 50 yards is the winner. And my sister said, on your marks, set, go. And we didn't even make it halfway before I could see literally his tail lights way out in front of me. Big brother beat little brother by a country mile, okay? And while I'm sitting there huffing and puffing, licking my wounds, as a big brother would, he comes over to me, puts his hand over me and says, look, Jason, I love you, bro. We're all proud of you, but you know what? You need to take some humility in your high position. Should have eaten, that medicine, but you know what? In spite, I poked a jab at Lunsford. He was someone, an artist, went to school, earned an ROTC scholarship, but you know what? College wasn't for him. Grades weren't there, flunked out, bouncing around from job to job, trying to find himself in life. And I poked a jab and I said, what are you doing with your life that's so great? I earned a scholarship to go to UNC Chapel Hill. What are you doing with your life? And for someone to have such witty comebacks, he didn't have anything to say at all. He just put his head down and walked away. Middle sister came over to me. She said, Jason, you're a butthole, okay? Like, you know better. All right, you need to go apologize to your brother. And I said, nope, I'm not going to apologize. And just a short few months later, all of a sudden, big brother's got a motor, all right? He's got a focus, a drive, a determination that no one had ever seen. And we're like, what's going on with this guy, all right? Because he's not the same Lunsford. And all of a sudden, he comes up to my parents one day and tells them, I finally know what I want to do with my life. I want to dedicate my life to service, and I'm going to join the United States military. I'm going to join the Army. And me, being that selfish, spoiled little kid, I tried to talk him out of it. I'm like, join the Army? Pfft, man, get out of here. There's so much you can do. Like, really? Like, you're going to join the Army? And he had already made his mind up. He pulled me to the side and he said, before you can help somebody else, you have to first help yourself. I'm going. And I saw the boldness and the conviction in his eyes. I knew I couldn't stop him. And he was sent off to basic training and boot camp September the 9th of 2001. Everybody knows what happened 2 days later. We went from a country of peace to a country of war, just like that. And Big Brother was shipped off, then stationed in Germany for a little bit before he was called into active service in Iraq and Afghanistan in late 2002 and early 2003. Me, I've got a football career, a budding football career. And I go to UNC Chapel Hill to start making a name for myself. First year, awesome. Second year, we were not a winning football team, okay? Just like when I was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens and then came to the St. Louis Rams. When I got there in 2009, they weren't the greatest show on turf, okay? that they were about the worst show on turf. And 2003 came around, and I already knew the writing was on the wall. We had won 3 games the year before, and this year, we had already started with a horrible losing record. And at the end of training camp, our head coach allowed our parents to take us out for supper. And my father's in the front driver's seat. My mother is right here in front of me. And I knew that this was my opportunity to just spill all of my sorrow stories, all of my pity party on my mother, because she's the one that's always going to tell me, oh, baby, it's going to be all right. You know, you just keep working hard and you just try your best. And mama is always going to give a word of encouragement. And I'm just sitting there, and I can't see her because she's in the front passenger seat in front of me, and I'm just vomiting, okay? Everything that's wrong with my life. And I go on for 5 minutes. I go on for 10 minutes. And mama ain't say a word. And I'm thinking, I know she's not up there asleep. And I say, mama, can you hear me? Mama? And all of a sudden she lashes out at me, guys. You need to shut up. You need to shut up. And I'm like, whoa, like what's gotten into this woman? Then she proceeded to say, nothing of what you're going through in your life right now can compare to what your older brother is going through, fighting and serving our country over in Iraq and Afghanistan right now. That's all she said. And that's all she needed to say. And whatever hot air I had in that balloon, it fizzled out real quick to reveal who I was at the time. Still only thinking about myself. Still the selfishness, the flesh, the spoiled brat, the ego. And what's in it for me, right? What's in it for me? And I know a lot of times say, well, yeah, that's an honest question. But that's all I was after. But it revealed just who I was at the time. And you know what? I made a declaration right there. You know what? I'm not going to complain anymore. How could I be so disconnected? Yeah, it's my older brother, but you know what? I wasn't seeing him every day. I wasn't getting those checks from a big brother, those gut checks, those words of encouragement. And I veered from the course. I veered from the path. And I said, I'm not going to complain anymore. After that, I started having a determination about myself. But then all of a sudden, the rug was snatched completely underneath me and my entire family. Because on September 20th, just a month later, my parents received a dreadful knock at the door. They were suited and booted to inform them that my older brother, Lunsford Bernard Brown II, was just slain in service. And so, guys, me being a young kid, 20 years old at the time, thinking I knew everything, I thought about quitting football. I thought about dropping out of college, because if someone that you love can be taken away from you just like that, then what's the point of any of this? Like, what's reality? And how does any of this make sense or even matter? And so I threw a pity party, again, wallowing in my self-doubt. And my mother, she said, you need to go back to college so you can be around the rest of your brothers. You lost one brother, but you have adopted a team of brothers. And I went back. But I went back with one of Lunsford's dog tags because he was slain in a mortar attack. A mortar came down through the top of the tent and hit the table right in front of him. And he received a brunt of the shrapnel. And there was a piercing in his dog tag that pierced all the way through it, where it was jagged and pointy-edged. and I wore his dog tag every single day. Jagged and pointy edge turned in so that after I put on my tight shoulder pads and after I put on my tight jersey, I could literally feel it just piercing a hole right there in my chest, right over my heart. And most people don't know that my greatest source of inspiration came from one of my darkest places. And I said, I can honor his memory and I can honor his legacy by the life that I live. I can create a memorial for my older brother right here in my heart. And nobody knew that I was carrying that around with me. And I just went out there and I just put on just the biggest smile, the most determination. When it was hot and blistering heat and humid, I said, come on, guys. They're like, Jason, don't you feel how hot it is out here? Like Jason, what are you, like, are you a robot? Yeah, I feel it. But you don't know what I'm feeling right here. A constant reminder to never quit, to never give up, to never complain. It propelled me to so many awards. Also in weightlifting, I'm still the strongest player to ever come through Carolina's football program. Squatting over 800 pounds, benching over 5, power clean and split jerk 420 pounds, and drafted by the Baltimore Ravens in the 4th round in 2005. Propelled me to the highest heights to be selected with the St. Louis Rams. And then all of a sudden, I'm at my highest peak. I'm at my highest point. I can't go any further in fortune or fame. When I was in middle school, 11 going on 12 years old, do you know what my goal was? To be an entrepreneur and to be a millionaire by the time I was 30, and to retire by the time I was 35 years old. And the NFL and sports propelled me to be a millionaire well before I was 25. And I'm like, is this what it's all about? In St. Louis, purchased an MTV crib style home, 12,000 square feet. It was ridiculous. It was stupid. 2 waterfalls in the backyard, arcade, movie theater down in the basement, and I'm living the American dream. But yet, I still had this emptiness about myself. And I woke up one morning, should have been happy for myself because it was my birthday. I turned 27 years old and walk into the bathroom and I look in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw because 27 was the same age that Lunsford was when he was slain in service. 7 years had passed. 7 years had passed from Lunsford's death, and now I'm 27. A lot of people say we look alike, especially when we smile. And I saw his reflection look back at me in the mirror. You know what he said? What are you doing with your life, Jason, that's so great? What are you doing with your life that's so special? And this is literally as though he came back from the grave to just prick me one more good time. The same way that I'd gotten him and he had no witty comeback, he came back just to poke a good jab at me. What are you doing with your life, Jason? I had no response. But I knew it had to be much different than what I was doing at that moment. My wife, talking about awesome women, she's a Duke grad. Bless her heart, all right? Well, we'll pray for her. She's a Duke grad. She's a dentist. Went to school for 8 years, all right? Talk about women's empowerment. That's right, women doing awesome big things. She did it. And then we met up in St. Louis. And now people are saying that we're a power couple. Like Jason, you're in the highest heights of the NFL. Tay, you're a dentist. Like, what else is there to do? And we're both chasing after our careers. We're both getting up from dusk and working until dawn. Because, yeah, you're not going to go to school for 8 years just to stay at home and be a mother. Like, no, like, she's got to get out and chase that dream as well. And here's the thing. Our 2 children at the time, we were dropping them off at daycare, sometimes at 7:30 in the morning, not picking them up until 5, maybe 5:30 in the evening, working some of those long days when the days are short. I'm leaving home when it's dark, and I get home after it gets dark. And if someone had come to my house and painted it a different color, I would have known the difference. Anybody work hours like that? I know you do. You don't even see your house outside during daylight time. You wouldn't know what it even looked like. Working those long hours, guys. Here was a big barometer for me. A big barometer for where I was in my life. I can sit up here and I can talk to you guys all day long about who I am. But if you want to know who I truly am and everything that you really want to know about me, you talk to my children, all right? They'll let you know if we practice what we preach. They'll let you know if their daddy is a hypocrite or not, all right? They'll let you know the values of what's going on in your home and how their parents talk. And so, my son is 4 years old at the time. It's late going on Christmas. He gets home from daycare, and I'm just a vegetable, just laid out on the couch trying to get some rest. One of those long days, losing football season. I'm just trying to check out. And it's not fair to my family. And my son comes up to me, and he's got this Ziploc bag with Chex Mix, with glitter in it, and some pretzels. He's like, come on, Dad, we got to go outside. We got to go outside, Dad. And I'm like, son, it's like 25 degrees outside. It's freezing. Ain't nobody going outside. Dad, we got to go outside right now. And I'm like, boy, what are you talking about? Dad, we got to go feed the deer. We got to go feed the reindeer, or else Santa's reindeer are going to starve. And I'm like, oh, hold on, son. Like, come on now. And I didn't burst this little bubble, but I said, are you serious? He's like, yes, Dad. Like, all the kids are doing it. They're going to ask us at daycare tomorrow if we fed the reindeer. And so I just started to go over a little quiz that I gave my son. I said, son, I see you're real serious about this. Well, tell me this, JW. Tell me about Superman. Like, is Superman real? He's like, yeah, Dad, like Superman's real. I said, I'm sorry, son. Like that's Marvel, DC, that's something we see on television. I said, I'm sorry, son. Superman is make-believe. And then we go on to Spider-Man, and he knows because he's seen the Spider-Man cartoon. He said, yeah, Dad, Spider-Man, that's make-believe. And we go on down the list. We even get to the Tooth Fairy. What about the Tooth Fairy? Yeah, that's make-believe. Well, what about Iron Man? Oh, Tony Stark, he's real. I said close, but not quite there. And here's the final answer to the test, guys. I said, JW, what about Jesus? Is Jesus real or make-believe? He said, Dad, Jesus isn't real. Jesus is make-believe. And so, I'm thinking like, what am I doing with my life? All right? Not raising our children. Perfect strangers are raising our children. Chasing after the American dream. I told my wife, I said, we're never going to serve the almighty dollar ever again. I said, we're going to get back to faith. We're going to get back to family. Shortly after that, had another big wake-up call and had a real serious coming to Jesus moment. And I told him, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. Because I thought I was big enough, I thought I was strong enough, and I thought I was smart enough to figure this thing out all on my own. Let me tell you what, guys. All of the mess that's happened in this world this past couple of years, we can only speculate. Nobody's got the answers. We can only hope, and we can only have faith. And I know every single one of you guys got faith, all right? You got to have faith when you farm. And I told Jesus, I said, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. With all of the fortune, all of the fame, all of the blessings that you've given me, what would you have me to do more so than anything else to be a blessing to my family, to be a blessing to the community, to all of my neighbors whom you have called me to love? He said he wanted me to be a farmer. He said, I want you to feed my sheep. I want you to take care of my people. And it wasn't just feeding people the word of God like a minister would, but literally helping to meet people's immediate needs through hunger relief. And all of a sudden I start backtracking. I'm like, come on now. Like, I don't know anything about farming. Like, my grandfather was a farmer. I'm a semi-generational farmer, but me, I didn't go to school for that. Come on now. I'm not equipped. I'm not qualified. And literally all he wanted me to do was take a leap of faith. And I thought it was the craziest thing in the world. The craziest thing in the world, because how am I going to tell this to my wife? How am I going to tell my agent? How am I going to tell everybody all of these things? And when I did share with my wife, you know what she said? I'm glad God is sharing all this stuff with you, because he's not sharing any of it with me, all right? I said, dear, we got to move back to faith and family. And at that time, she could see the change in my heart, the honest and the sincere change in my heart, the humility in my heart. She could truly see that I was trying to be a better husband and a better father. And she said, okay, well, what are you going to do then? I said, well, we're going to look for some land back in North Carolina, and we're going to farm that land. Well, how much land are you looking for? I said, well, dear, maybe 100, maybe 200 acres. Who's going to work all that land? Because I didn't go to school for 8 years to work that land, all right? Who's going to do that? And I prayed, all right? I don't know how many of you pray for your spouses, for your wives, for your husbands. Guess what? I prayed for that woman. I said, God, everything that you share with me, share it with her, all right? Put it on her heart. And let me tell you what, in less than 2 weeks, all of a sudden she's getting on Realtor.com, researching MLS herself, and all of a sudden she's taking lead and taking shit. She said, and the next time we fly back to North Carolina, we're going to look at this farm that's 200 acres. We're going to look at this other farm that's 600 acres. And then there's another farm in Franklin County. It's 1,100 acres. I'm like, whoa. I thought you said that was too much land. She said, well, if we're going to do it, then we might as well do it big. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, thank you, God. All right. And so we go back and start looking for land. And at this time, it was a good time to buy. All right. Because we had some liquidity. And it was 2012 at the end of the horrible market. And saw so many farms that land that was for sale for more than 1, 2, even 3 years. You see MLS and it said it's been listed for more than 600, more than 900 days. And we're like, and then you're starting to be like, well, what's wrong, with these properties, right? Not like now, where properties are they're being snatched up like that. But here's what we did. Our first covenant with God was our marriage. And we made a new covenant. We said, God, whatever land you bless us with, we're going to name it First Fruits Farm. And we're going to give your people, God, our neighbors, the first fruits of everything that is produced and harvested from the land. Well, let me tell you what. You better watch out. Because God is looking for a humble steward and a humble servant to work the land. Everybody remembers that story about Paul Harvey? So God made a farmer, all right? God is looking for some farmers to work his land. We went to look at that largest property that was more than 1,100 acres. And on the way there, we had to take a detour and go past a farm that we would have never gone by. And I saw it in the distance. I saw all of these big, white, beautiful silos and barns and rolling hills and ponds and a beautiful white farmhouse. And I said, my God, I don't know who owns that farm, but I sure hope and pray you bless us with a farm just like it. And drove right by it to look at this other farm that was down in a river bottom. It was floodplain, but yet it was so much land. We said, you know what, we have to look at it once more. And we came back to look at that farm 2 more times. And on the way there, I said that same prayer about this farm that I knew nothing about. I was coveting thy neighbor's farm. And on that 3rd time to visit that flooded river tract, we said, you know what? This place isn't for us. We just want to look at it one more time. The real estate agent said, hold on a second now. I know you guys are interested buyers and you qualified buyers. There's a farm tract right up the road. It's not for sale, but the owner would be willing to entertain offers. I'm like, okay, yeah, well, what tract of land are you talking about? He said, well, you might have passed by the way down in here. It's the farm with the big white barns and silos, the rolling hills, the ponds. He said, you know what farm I'm talking about? I said, I think I know. Yeah. And we proceeded to go right up there and ride all over that farm. And I'm trying to keep a poker face. Because you're not supposed to show how excited you are. All right? And so, guys, they came back with this ridiculous, bloated appraisal that was more than twice of what we could afford at the time. And I got discouraged. But I said, you know what? We can at least make a reasonable offer, a respectable offer. We only had, for a 1,000-acre tract, this farm was a 1,000-acre tract. They wanted $3,000 an acre. We had $3 million to invest. They wanted more than $6 million for the property. And I came in with a reasonable offer of like $2 million. And came back, and they counter offered with 5.5. And so they came down like $500,000 off of their bloated appraisal. I came up 500 to 2.5, and they came down to 5 million. And I looked at my wife, I said, dear, like if we keep moving like this, there's no way we can meet in the middle, because meeting in the middle is way over our budget. I said, we're going to have to move on and look elsewhere. And she looked at me square in my eyes, and she said, Jason Brown, this man of God that claims that God called you away from football to be a farmer and feed his people. Where's your faith now, Jason Brown? Huh? Where's your faith? And I teared up and I said, yeah. I said, where's my faith? All right. Well, I'm not getting choked up. I get real high pitch. All right. I said, yeah, well, where's my faith? And I wrote on there, I didn't even put the full amount that I put 2 8 with a big, bold black Sharpie. And I said, final offer. Now, underline it twice. And I submitted it in faith. And they came back and said, if you can close in 30 days, the farm is yours. And I'm like, whoa, like, are you serious? Like, did that just happen? Like, literally, like the farm that I just prayed about, the farm of my dreams that I didn't even know was possible. And we didn't find out until a year later. Something that's happening a lot right now. Didn't find out until a year later that there were several gentlemen whose net worth was in the hundreds of millions and even billionaires that were looking at that farm. And in the middle of our negotiations, they had even called up because someone had informed them that, yeah, they're asking such and such, but you know what? You can get that farm for 4.5, but I wouldn't pay a penny over 4. They said, are you serious? Like, you think I can get that farm for $4.5 million? Call up the owners right now. And it was in the middle of while we were negotiating. And the gentleman that's telling me this story, I'm like, you called them up? He said, yeah. I said, what time of the year was this? He says, about September going to October. I was like, yeah. And did they answer your phone call? He said, yeah. And I told them that I had an interested buyer. And what did they say? He said, well, they said that we're already talking to someone and we don't need your help. And they hung up the phone on me. I said, they did? He said, yeah, they hung up the phone on me. I said, praise God. All right. When we didn't learn until more than a year later that God was opening doors and closing doors. And what I'm trying to share with you guys is that it's more than just me. There's some things that money can't buy. There's some things that we have to do when we operate. We've got to operate in faith, all right? Faith and hope that we're doing the right thing for our families, for our children, for our businesses, for the future generation, and all to honor God. And let me tell you what, just because I'm a minister, just because I'm sold out for God, just because we're growing food to feed the hungry, it doesn't mean that I've been given a free pass or a bulletproof vest. Because when I say it rains on the just and the unjust, and it floods, and there's droughts, and there's a whole bunch of other storms and things that happen, that we've gone through our ups and our downs. We've gone through our trials. You talk about pivot, Kevin. We've gone through so many ways racking our brains because we've seen other small family farms around us. That's not even the main thing that they do. They still have, regular jobs to support their farms. But yet, they went out of business. They stopped producing. They stopped growing. And there's so many things that we've had to do to grow, adjust, adapt, and to overcome. But one thing that's always lasted is that we've kept fighting the good fight of faith. I no longer have to wear my dog tags anymore because now we have 8 children on our farm. Our family has 8 beautiful children. That's the prick in my side every day, okay? That's the thorn in my side. And I couldn't be more encouraged knowing that our family is growing on a farm. My wife cautions me about that every single day. Don't you ever forget, Jason, more so than the livestock that we raise, more so than the fruits and vegetables that we grow to feed needy families. Don't you ever forget that the most important thing growing on First Fruits Farm is our family. The love that we share between our marriage, a husband and a wife, and the love that we pass down and share with our children. That's the most important thing that's growing. And I try and make balance for my children. North Carolina has countless labor laws, but they have 0 labor laws for your own children, okay? And I know many of you have tried to, skirt past so many of those things. And back in the day, that's why they had so many children, because raising a large family on a farm was practical, all right? You're not looking for a labor force. You're producing your own labor force, all right? But here's one area where I have to be so careful and cautious, is that both of my parents grew up on their family farms, and the first chance they got, they ran away. They said, I'm going to run as far away as I can, and I'm not coming back. And the challenge for me is to share the vision for my children, to share the joy of farming, the joys of agriculture for my children, and the opportunities, okay? And I also have to create that balance of life, the balance where I know we're going to work hard, but guess what? We're also going to have our rest and relaxation and a vacation in there as well, okay? The first time I brought that up to another local farmer, I said, yeah, well what about vacations? They laughed. And it was like this crazy, cynical kind of laugh, like a vacation. What's that? We got to do it, guys. For our wives, for our children, for our families, we got to do it. We got to carve out that time. And in creating these better systems for our businesses, it's not just creating better systems so that we can make more money and buy more and do more and create more net worth and wealth. No, it's creating better systems to free up our time. Because money isn't our greatest resource, time is our greatest resource. And here's the thing, you can't buy time, all right? Time is the greatest equilibrium. And I see my children growing literally before my eyes. Literally before my eyes. And I'm counting down the days. My oldest son, he's 14 years old, and I know he's probably counting down the days too. All right, yeah, I got like 4 more years, all right? And I'm counting down the days of how much more I can pour into my children before they go out into this world. How many seeds, not seeds am I planting on my farm, but how many seeds of love and wisdom am I sowing into my children? Am I sowing into my family? Because that is going to create and produce the greatest harvest, the greatest yield, the greatest reward. Not getting a couple of extra head of cattle. Not producing more fruits and vegetables. It all goes back to our families. And also, guys, I'm so encouraged by my children because they have a grit and a tenacity about themselves, a common sense about themselves that out here in the rest of the world is not common. My son has a chicken business, also raising eggs, and when he first started out at 7 going on 8 years old, I told him, I said, look, you have to give them all the care that they need, all the water, all the nutrition, and if you don't give them what they need, your chickens are going to tell on you. And he's looking at me like, can Dad talk to chickens? And so sure enough, egg production went down. And I said, son, your chickens are telling on you. I'll go out and I'll check on them, Dad. I said, that's right, you better go check on them and kick him out the door, all right? That's what you do to a little 8-year-old farm boy, all right? Go on now, figure it out. Because he's learning and he's growing. And the egg production went back up because I knew he wasn't doing his chores properly. A couple of months later, egg production went right back down. And I said, JW, your chickens are telling on you. But Dad, I've been giving them everything they need, all the nutrition, the care, everything. The minerals, all right, the grain, everything, Dad. I said, well, you know what? You better go figure it out. I kicked him right back out the door. And so he came to the back door about 30 minutes later and said, Dad, I know what's been happening to our eggs. I said, well, that's good. What's been happening, son? And he holds up a 6-foot-long black snake. And I said, boy, you better get that snake away from me, all right? Because, look, I'm a big man, but even I don't do that, okay? I said, you better get that snake away from me. I said, JW, what happened? well, Dad, I saw that he was in the coop, and I picked up a garden hoe and I chopped his head off. I said, oh my goodness, he's so violent, all right? And I said, well, son, weren't you scared? He said, no, Dad, because that snake was stealing our eggs. And I said, wow, all right? You can't learn that at school, all right? He's out there like little David, like slaying serpents and giants and lions, okay? You learn that on a farm. And I'm so encouraged. When we have young men that come to our farm, I tell them about how many children we have. And I say, yeah, you need me to rub some of that fertilizer off on you? He's like, look, I don't want that many children, all right? You know, we want some children, but not that many. And a lot of people look at us guys, and they see how much we care. They see how much we love. They see how much we give. And they say, you know what? Yeah, I'm good. I don't want that problem. Whatever bug that's bitten him, whatever virus that is, I don't want it. Because we have thousands of volunteers that come to our farm every single year. Many of them get up early on a Saturday morning, and they come to help labor in love. And we meet some of the most awesome people in the world. Like literally, they are the salt and the light of the earth, okay? And it takes a special person with a special heart. And this is usually about the time where my son, JW, says, Daddy, tell him about the horse, all right? If he's in a crowd, he's heckling me to tell him about the horse, Daddy. And so I'm going to share with you guys about my favorite athlete. Hopefully your favorite athlete better not be Tom Brady, all right? Like, get out, all right? Guess what? It might be Patrick Mahomes, all right? Like, we can clap it up for Patrick. It might even be Jason Brown. But let me tell you what, my favorite athlete of all time isn't even a human being at all, but it's a horse by the name of Secretariat that broke records, set distances in time that still have not been rivaled to this day, even winning the coveted Triple Crown. And everyone wanted to know what was so special about this horse, Secretariat, because he looked the same, just like any other thoroughbred racehorse on the outside. So they said, it's got to be something on the inside. And so posthumously, they performed an autopsy on Secretariat. And the doctors, the veterinarians, they're right there trying to examine what is so special about Secretariat. And they pull out his lungs, and they look beautiful and healthy, just like any other thoroughbred racehorse. They pull out his liver and his kidney, and they look healthy, typical of any other thoroughbred racehorse. But when they pulled out his heart, they laid it on the table, and they stood back in awe and amazement because they had never seen anything like it before. You see, your typical racehorse, thoroughbred racehorse, has a heart that weighs about 8 to 8.5 pounds. There was a great horse by the name of Eclipse, had a big name in his day. His heart weighed 14 pounds, almost twice the size of your regular thoroughbred racehorse. But when it came to Secretariat, his heart weighed in excess of 22 pounds, almost 3 times the size of your average thoroughbred horse. Just imagine, that was a huge hunk of flesh and muscle. And if you truly want to know what made Secretariat so special, it was his heart, the size of his heart. If you truly want to know what made Secretariat run so fast, for so hard, and for so long, it truly, literally was the size of his heart. But if you ask any doctor, cardiologist, medical professional, you know what they'll tell you? Having an enlarged heart That's a serious medical condition. And you know what? You're not supposed to have a heart that big. You need to go, look, take this medication and be on bed rest. Go sit your tail down somewhere. They don't want you walking. They definitely don't want you running. But when it came to Secretariat being matched up to his purpose, his true purpose in life, not to pull some cart or some wagon, but literally go out there on the track and run, that's when he set the world ablaze and on fire, because he was matched up with his purpose. And my question to every single one of you guys is, how big is your heart? Have you had a heart transplant? How big is your heart? Because it will literally determine how fast you run, how far you will go, and how hard you will drive. So many people, they ask me, and I say I've had a heart transplant. I know that we can conquer all of these problems that we see out here in the world today by giving our best. I've received countless critics from people. You know what they've said? Yeah, you're starting a farm, and how much have you grown and raised? And yeah, we've grown, harvested, and donated more than 1 million pounds of food. And you know what some people say? Well, yeah, you could have kept playing football and made millions of more dollars and went out and purchased more than that and just donated that. I said, yeah, you know what? That's a valid point. But God didn't call me to throw money at problems. He called me to give my best. We see money thrown at problems all day, every single day, and it does not solve or cure problems, i.e., the government. Oh, they'll throw a whole bunch of money at problems. Throw a whole lot, and the problems don't go away. It's only when people who care come together and say, you know what? We're going to strategize about this thing. We're going to think about this thing. We're going to come together and we're going to give our best. And that's when you can move mountains. We literally had mountains, more than 100,000 pounds of sweet potatoes moved just like that. 500 people came out and we got them out of the field. Didn't use any tractor, didn't use any forklift. I'm talking about just good old-fashioned sweat. And when everybody finished, they came up to me with a smile on their face and they said, thank you so much, Jason, for creating this opportunity for us to come together, fellowship, and to give back. And I'm like, really? Like, really? Like, with a smile on their face, and I'm thinking every single one of them. And it starts from a grassroots effort. Every single one of us in here are seeds of change. Seeds for our families, seeds for our communities. Every single one of us in here can make that difference in the world that we want to see today. And just know that that greatest difference is definitely going to be done through farming and agriculture. I love you guys, all guys. God bless. Thank you so much. And I usually, look, I'm a communications major, all right? Not an ag major, communications, all right? So I'm going to try and keep this and wrap it up for lunch, all right? Because I can go here all day. I'm just letting you know. Yes, this guy over here was like, don't do it. But if anyone has one or two good questions from the crowd, and then we're going to break for lunch. Come on, don't be the shy bunch. Be like, they got some fried chicken out there, man. Wrap it up. All right, Kevin, they're giving me the eyes. They're like, yep. So we started with sweet potatoes. North Carolina is the sweet potato capital of the world. Woo, that's right. More sweet potatoes grown there than any other state. They're nutrient dense, easy to cultivate, also by hand. Also the long-term storage. We don't have to worry about spoilage in our food supply. But right now, we're trying to pivot also into perennials, okay? Anything that I can plant once and it's going to come back year after year and produce a harvest. Muscadine grapes, which is, so sweet potatoes is North Carolina's state vegetable. The muscadine grape, the mighty muscadine, different from your regular grape. Muscadines have so many more antioxidants, cancer-fighting, properties in them. Muscadines, we're planting apples, pears, every type of fruit tree you can imagine, blackberries, blueberries, bringing back the American chestnut, okay, woohoo for the American chestnut. Also, the pecans, all right? And so my wife shared with me, and yeah, this is a constant theme of my wife giving me wisdom, all right? Thank you for all the wives, mothers, women in ag out here. God bless you. You men, y'all would just fall flat on your face, all right? If it wasn't for the awesome women in ag. She told me years ago, Jason, you can't be so dependent on the equipment, all of these John Deere tractors. We love the green, no matter what color it is. Guess what? You can't be so dependent on it, as well as the fuel. We see that, guess what? There's going to be fluctuations in supply for just about everyone's organization in here. Whatever is you're very much dependent on right now, you better start strategizing as far as how you're going to mitigate when that supply gets cut off, all right? So the perennials, that's just an awesome way where, the no-till is built in. Those nut and fruit trees, they're going to come back every single year, and it's going to produce an awesome harvest for many years to come. Thank you for that question, Kev. Yes, sir. We got a few head of cattle. That's right. We got some black Angus. They started off black, and then that recessive red gene, they popped up in there. All right. So, yes, they came up in there. And I love my girls. They're like my puppy dogs. Well, no matter where they are on the farm, I say, sweet girls. And they say, where you at, Farmer Brown? All right. They come running to me. Yeah. And I've always loved, big pets, like big dogs, all right? Look, I want to be like, big Mongol on Blazing Saddles. I want to come riding into town on a big bull, all right? Yeah, that's me, okay? But I love my cows. We have so much other livestock, whole bunch of donkeys, pigs, goats. They're not tame, though. They keep breaking out, all right? They won't even come to you. Chickens, we raised some turkeys as well. That was a challenge. But a barnyard full of animals, and I'm thankful for the food that it puts on the table for my family. My kids, they can throw down with the best of them, all right? But guess what? I told you guys are going to eat good. We got to work good as well. And I'm thankful that God has brought my family to a farm. God bless you guys.